My name is Juan Francisco, and I'm a psychic medium and tarot card reader. I've always been curious about the supernatural, the paranormal, and psychic abilities, and I'm here to share my stories and interview folks who want to share their own stories with us. Let's get to it. Hey everybody, so I received an email from someone named Anna, and I thought that her question would be great to answer on the podcast episode. I did get her permission, and let's get to it. So here's Anna's message to me. Hi Juan, I'm not sure if this is appropriate to ask in here. I just recently bumped onto your Spotify podcast. You were firstly a guest on Hannah McIntyre's Mediumship Matters podcast, and I could not stop listening to you since then. I'm Polish, living in the UK, hence the interest into Hannah's knowledge that she shares with others, and I do also love her sense of humor and personality. The moment I heard you on her podcast, I must say you just blew me away. The way you speak, knowledge you share, your charisma. Juan is blushing right now. I was building up courage to message you. I'm at the beginning of my spiritual journey, had my spiritual awakening. I even chose my mentor who kindly has enough patience with me, to put me under his wings and navigate me through my journey, but I'm still feeling wobbly. I could say I'm picking up on people's feelings, emotions. I'm highly empathic. Angels saved my life from the car crash a few months ago. When I finally figured out, and first of all, I'm so sorry about this car accident, Anna. When I finally figured out I'm not crazy, I decided to do some research and eventually ask someone I'm feeling drawn to for advice. This someone is you. If you would find a spare few minutes, would you be so kind to give me some advice for a beginner on how to connect with the other side, please? I'm meditating. I've created my heart space. I've met my gatekeeper. I receive signs from angels too. I just wish to know how to strengthen this connection, to receive guidance and information, to hear, feel, and see, to actually know that it's not my imagination. I believe you're the one who will be able to explain it to me. I will be the most grateful. Sending you love and light. Please keep doing what you're doing because you become the part of my everyday life and your energy can lift me up even from my lowest when doubts are creeping in. Thank you, Anna. Well, first, before we get into the question in Anna's message, you can see my eyes, if you're watching on video, watering up. When I first read this message, it brought such a smile to my face. And it was a smile that I could use at that moment. I was just smiling on the inside so widely. And it's such a lovely message. And I'm just so grateful, Anna, for your support and other listeners who are listening right now. And this is why I do what I do. I do this podcast because I want people to feel less alone in their journey. I want people to feel that they can access their intuition easily. It's easy to access it. It takes work to keep at it. That's my belief, personal belief, because I believe that we're all psychic. I believe we all have intuition, therefore we are all psychic. And I want people to know that. And so to hear from you, Anna, just how much you appreciate the podcast and how much you say you appreciate me, I'm just very grateful. I'm so happy to be a channel. I'm so happy to be someone who is bringing people to this realization that they are connected to the source. They are connected to God. They are connected to their higher power. I'm just a mouthpiece, and I can take some of the credit because I'm the one putting myself out there and putting this message out there. And I enjoy the psychic work that I do and the mediumship work that I do. But most of all, I'm doing this because I want people to know their full potential. I want people to know that they can rely on their intuition and they don't have to rely on other people to give them all the answers. I'm very passionate about that. So thank you so much, Anna, for that kind part of your message. I consider this an honor to do this, and it's such a privilege and honor to read a message like that. I'm very thankful. And the next thing I'll say before I address the question that Anna poses here is, Anna, you said that you believe I'm the one who'll be able to explain it to me. And I'm so grateful that you think I'm the one that can help you. But I also want to emphasize that, I am not the one. I'm not the be all and end all. I really want to encourage you, and I'll go into this more as I answer your question. I want to encourage you to seek out those mentors, continue working with your mentor, continue talking to people who are just as interested in this as you are, continue reading about it, listening to podcasts. Mine being at the top of your list is really great, and listen to other podcasts to get different opinions. I think it's very healthy to go to different sources for information and guidance in the physical world. Because I'm not going to pretend that I know everything. And there may be some things I'll say in this episode in answer to your question, Anna. I may just say, I don't know about that, but that's just how I feel. And I'm comfortable with that. I'm comfortable not knowing all the answers. If I knew all the answers, that would make me God. And I am not capital G-O-D, God. But I do my darn best to provide some helpful insight. And at the end of the day, if it resonates with you, follow the insight. If it doesn't resonate with you, that's okay. Not everything I say everyone's going to agree with, and that's okay. No hard feelings. Because at the end of the day, I believe that all paths lead to one destination, and that's source, that's God, that's heaven. That's my belief. It's just the way to get there that is completely up to you, and you can take what resonates with you along the journey. So, in answer to the question, and where do I begin? Let's see. If you would be so kind to give me some advice for a beginner, how to connect with the other side. And you say you've meditated, you do all the things, you work with your angels, you work with your gatekeeper, and you opened and created that heart space, and how to strengthen this guidance, strengthen the connection to the other side, and to know that it's not your imagination. Well, I'm going to start with the fact that you've begun the journey is a lot. It's so much. It is such a huge step. And I think that the key, and this is going to be an answer that maybe some folks would not like to hear, because it's not a clear answer, but the key in my journey thus far is accepting that I may not know if it's my imagination or the other side, and just trusting it. Now, that's very scary, because if we're doing readings for people, we want to know it's from the other side. But when I do a reading, I just receive what I receive, and I really feel it's from spirit, and I trust it's from spirit, and I relay it to the other person, to the client, and if it resonates, great. If it doesn't resonate, then I go back to spirit, because I either misinterpreted something or my ego got in the way. And the ego is not a bad thing. The ego is what helps us individualize ourselves, identify ourselves. I am Juan, and I am an American, and I live in New York City. I am Juan, and I am a Gemini. That all comes from I don't know psychology, but based on my understanding, the ego is the identity of self. But the ego can also be so self-preservational that it wants to do shortcuts and do things to preserve and protect Juan, even though that may not be the best thing for Juan to do. So, for example, if I tell a client I'm receiving this and they say no, my ego can say, well, that's what it is. That's just what it is. Like, how can it not resonate? The better thing for me to do is to go back to spirit and say, hey, spirit, this is not resonating, and not make it about me and my ability, or me trying to impress the reader, or trying to be right. Instead, I am relying on spirit again. And if I feel spirit is telling me, no, it is about, those are the numbers. Those are the numbers that we're trying to tell her or him or them. Then I go back to the client and say, I went back and, I asked them, like, what is this that I'm getting? And they told me there is something here with that. So just sit with it. If it doesn't make sense, that's okay. Maybe it will make sense later or in a few weeks from now, and then let it go. And that has a lot to do with trusting spirit, trusting when you know something feels right, when you're receiving that guidance or that insight, you just know it feels right, trusting that feeling. I can't tell you how many times I have said something in a reading and it doesn't make sense. And then sometimes the person messages me a week later, a month later, 2 months later, and it makes sense. And it blows my mind. Because that's how intelligent spirit is. That's how intelligent our angel guides are. It happens in card readings and it happens in mediumship readings. That's how intelligent God is. That's how intelligent that energy is. So trust. The number one key in any spiritual journey is trusting the process, trusting that what you're getting is not your imagination. And the thing is also something I learned on another podcast that I heard and learned from on another podcast. I forgot which one it was because I want to credit them. Is imagination really a bad thing? I don't believe our imagination is an enemy to our intuition. Here's why. I want you to imagine yourself on a boat. And I want you to imagine that the sky above you is purple and the ocean that the boat is on is red. Wild colors, I know. And I want you to imagine that the floor that you're standing on in the boat is wooden and you're at the steering wheel of the boat. Now, as I describe that to you, I'm hoping, I'm assuming that you could imagine yourself with that sky, that ocean, that boat, and that steering wheel, and the floor below you. That is how spirit communicates. Spirit communicates through, for many of us, not all of us, images in our head. If I tell you, imagine a bird chirping in your ear, or imagine the sound of crickets, if you've heard crickets in your life before, your mind will come up with the sound of crickets. You remember the way crickets sound because you can imagine it into your thoughts. Does that make sense? You can imagine the sound of crickets because you've heard the sound of crickets before. If I tell you to imagine a spaceship that has, this is really random. Imagine a flying saucer that has 2 eyes on top. Very weird. I've never seen a flying saucer with two eyes on top, and unless you tell me differently, you've never seen a flying saucer with 2 eyes on top of it. But I'm sure you can imagine it. This is how spirit communicates when it comes to visual symbols and visual cues that come up in the third eye mind. So imagination, it's like this. It works this way also. Let's step aside from imagination for a moment. If I told you that as practicing mediums, you should stay inside all day and just meditate for the rest of the year, the rest of 2024, I think that would do a disservice to you as a medium, because the way that we know what a gloomy sky looks like is by stepping out into the world and experiencing a gloomy sky. The way we know what it feels like to sit on grass, it can feel itchy for some of us. Maybe for some of us, it feels very soothing. The only way we can know that experience is by sitting on grass or touching grass. So that when spirit wants to use our memory bank, our human memory bank, if spirit wants to bring up the feeling of sitting on grass, because that is a very special memory between the client and their mother who has passed, spirit will use your knowledge of what grass feels like to help you communicate that memory that you're getting from spirit to your client. I just said a whole lot of things. It's important to experience the world, to kind of you're collecting all that experience for spirit to refer to in readings. It's like if I don't listen to doo-wop music from the 50s, but maybe I know one doo-wop song, and I'll tell them, let's say I tell a client, your mom is bringing up this doo-wop song that I like from the 50s. I don't listen to doo-wop, and then they say, oh my God, my mom used to love doo-wop. And let's say I say the name of the song. And they tell me, no, my mom wouldn't play that one, but they would play this other artist that was doo-wop. And she was obsessed with doo-wop music. I don't know doo-wop music, but I know that one song. And me bringing that up, spirit giving me that song in my head that I know, is helping the client remember something about their mom. And it validates that this is their mother talking with us. So back to imagination. Imagination is very important because spirit works with our brains, works with our souls that are in our human bodies, which have these brains. And our brains are a tool that spirit uses to to craft the message they want to share with their loved ones through our mouthpiece. It sounds like a whole process, but what I'm trying to say is imagination is not the enemy of intuition. The moment that we try to create something, create a message into existence, let's say you're doing a reading for somebody or you're practicing with a friend. You don't have to be a psychic reader or medium to practice intuition. Just practice with a friend if you don't want to do it as a career. And you're trying to think hard, see what you get. That's where imagination is meddling. It's meddling with the ego, because the ego wants to get something, wants to get something that's going to impress somebody. The ego wants to give a great freaking reading. And it's not a bad intention to want to give a healing reading, but it has to come from a place of openness and trust. We can't come from this place of, I'm going to impress somebody today. And that's not easy, because I've been in situations, and not situations, that makes it sound so scary. I've been in readings where I went into it thinking, I want to impress somebody. And maybe I do impress somebody. Maybe it happens. But I feel way better when I go into a reading with the intention of healing through openness. Because if I go into a reading with the intention of impressing and getting everything right, it places such a pressure, and that pressure takes away from the openness. It creates an anxiety, and that's not how a reading, my opinion, should be approached. So with imagination, it can be mixed up with ego sometimes, but it's important that we exercise that imagination. That's why it's so important to be creative, whether it's writing, painting, something strategic, you're trying to figure something out. Use that brain. Our brain is imagining things all the time. It's imagining a solution to a current problem. It's imagining what a painting is going to look like when it's done, when we're in the process of starting to paint it. It's important to exercise the imagination muscle. It's that sense of play. That sense of play that we had as a child that sometimes gets conditioned out of us the older we get, because we have to be productive, we have to be hard workers. Then we lose this sense of play and imagination. And that sense of play and imagination, what comes with it is openness, open to whatever comes through. I want to do more study and research into imagination and intuition, because I'm not saying go around creating messages for people that you think up with your brain. What I'm trying to say is be open. Don't put so much pressure on yourself, and just trust that what comes through. What you want to do is you want to be open, and you don't want to think things into existence for a reading or as you're getting insights for yourself. Just be open. Be open to whatever comes through. The key for me, and this is another way to answer your question about whether it's your imagination or if it's spiritual insight and guidance. Usually, the most helpful insight or guidance or the most helpful message for a client will come through when I know that I thought of nothing was said, that nothing triggered the thought to come through. That's most of the time. Sometimes the client will say something and spirit wants to respond to it with some new information based on what the client said, and it resonates. But that's because it comes prompted, but the new information comes unprompted. So that's what happens when I'm feeling like I'm in a space of openness, is what comes through. If it comes through in a way that is unprompted, or I didn't think it into existence, I know that it's a message from somewhere else. I know that it's coming from something else. I have a colleague, a peer, who's a medium, who says, even if you are thinking of a song because you heard it today on the radio, that can still give a message from spirit. For example, this is where it may sound confusing, but this is also where openness is very important. I've shared this story before. I was walking my dog an hour before a client reading on Zoom, and I saw 2 white butterflies. And I don't know what it was, but I immediately thought, oh, that's spirit. Hey, spirit. And I felt like it was connected to the reading that I was going to have. And then the reading starts and I tell her, I saw these two white butterflies. I couldn't help but feel like it's connected to you. Do two white butterflies mean anything? Now, here's me bringing up something that happened an hour earlier in my life experience and bringing it up to her. At first, she said no. And then at the end of the reading and then an email told me I have a tattoo with two butterflies. And butterflies are my grandmother's symbol to me. So that's an example of something that happened in my life that just stuck with me because I felt there was something different about it. Because I had that, when I saw those two white butterflies in the park, I had this gut feeling. It was just immediate. Oh, that's spirit. Now, where did that gut feeling come from? It was just, oh, that's spirit. It's like if I taste a strawberry and I get the taste of strawberry on my tongue, it's that immediate. And that's when you know that it's coming from somewhere else. But if I wasn't open, if I was somebody who thought, oh, two white butterflies, whatever. Or if I received, oh, it's spirit. And then I thought, no, butterflies are everywhere. I would be ignoring that sign. And then that amazing message wouldn't have happened for this client. So what is I don't want to say the enemy, that sounds so scary, but for lack of a better word, the enemy of intuition is trying to impress ourselves or other people and overthinking. I'm an overthinker. I'm a Gemini. I also grew up with anxiety and OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. So I'm an overthinker. So it's easier said than done. And I still overthink. I still do. But I know how to center myself. And that's the last thing I'll say as an answer to your question. Standing in your power. This is something that my mentor taught me. Standing in your power is so important. There are different ways to stand in your power to center yourself. Meditation before a reading is very important. Meditation is a great way to get spiritual insight and receive those gut feelings. And that can look like sitting cross-legged for 10 minutes of silence, 15 minutes of silence, 1 hour if you want. It could also be journaling. I was going through a situation that in the past week, and I journaled about it, and I got some clarity about it through journaling. And I still have some doubt about the situation, but I made a decision that I feel good about, even though there is that doubt. I feel more gratitude and surety, or is surety the right word? Like feeling sure. Is surety a word people use? Surety? I don't even know how to pronounce it. I feel more of that gratitude and that conviction more than I do the doubt. So I'm going to follow that gut feeling I felt through the journaling and see where it takes me. Meditation is a way to stand or to get into your power. And getting into your power is becoming even more open with what can come through, becoming receptive to whatever comes through from spirit. It's also a practice in believing in yourself and believing that you have the power to connect, because we all do. It could be something like, and my mentor Daisy taught me this, before you do a reading for somebody or just as an affirmation, you sit in a chair and then you stand up real quick and say, I'm a medium. Sit back down. I'm a medium. Sit back down. I'm a medium, or I am connected. I am empowered. I am a child of God. Fill in the blank, whatever works for you. If you don't want to do that practice, standing in your power could just be not even saying words, just out the mouth. Sometimes I do that 3 times to recenter myself, and it clears my head. It could be lighting white sage. You find the practice that works for you, that makes you feel the most at peace and the most bliss, and that helps you feel like you are open and you're willing and you're open for whatever comes through. That quiets that ego or that monkey mind that says, you can't do this, or You're just imagining things. Nope, just quiet that voice and empower yourself through that grounding exercise, through that power exercise. Before almost every single reading I do, it's very rare that I don't do this. I meditate for 10 to 15 minutes because that is my way of telling my brain, you know what? You just finished a day of work, the 9 to 5 work. You just went to the grocery store. You have a to-do list in your mind. Those things can go to the side for the moment. It's time to get clear. Now, getting clear is not creating a blank mind. That's not the goal of meditation for me. For me, it's okay. These things are in my brain. They're going to be there. But for the next hour, for the next 30 minutes to an hour, they don't have to be important. They can wait. And that's how I get into my power. And then if you want to use a prayer that I use right before I go into a reading, especially, this is especially helpful if you want to do a practice or work that is going to be in service to other people in terms of connecting them with spirit or with God. I say, Spirit, help me to help you heal. Help me to let them know you are real. And that is my cue to spirit that I'm ready and that I'm ready for the shift into becoming a channeler for the reading. So whether it's 15-minute meditation, journaling, saying a prayer, lighting a candle, lighting sage, going for a walk. Sometimes I've used walks to get into my power. Find the thing that works for you to get into your power. Well, Anna, I hope that this was helpful as an answer to your question. And when I asked Anna if I could share this on the podcast and share her name, she told me she would love to hear it on the podcast, and she thinks there are other people who could really benefit from this, from my answer, and could really use the advice as their beginning. And I just feel so grateful to you, Anna, that you were willing to, you were open to me sharing your message on the podcast, because I think other people could use the information. I'm not saying I'm the one that has all the information or the best source. I'm not pretending to be a guru. I'm not pretending to be a mediumistic genius, because I'm not. I am just like everybody else. I am just delving into this work out of passion. And because of that, I have done some work, and I have done some practice, and I have done some studying of to a certain extent. So I know some things, but I don't know everything. So take what resonates with you in this episode and leave the rest. And listen to other podcasts and read other materials and sources. At the end of the day, I hope this episode empowered you, Anna, and anyone else listening. Empowered you in knowing that you are connected, and it's just about trusting yourself, trusting spirit, trusting the gut feelings and the insights. And it's about also empowering yourself and centering yourself. So with that, I leave you to a beautiful rest of your day. If you have a question or topic you want me to cover on Third Eyesight, head to my website, juanfranciscospirit.com/contact, and send a message my way. If you really enjoyed this episode, leave a review wherever you listen. I'd really appreciate it.